When it comes to nocturnes, students seem to be most intimidated by these ornaments, trills, polyrhythm, and embellishing runs. But from the listeners' and teachers' perspective, there are far more important structural problems that are relevant to every single nocturne by Chopin. And those are your sense of pulse, how you are projecting the right hand's beautiful melodic line over your left hand's rocking, lilting, sometimes in chords, accompaniment of the left hand. I can probably solve your polyrhythm problem within minutes, but I want to talk about the more important stuff before that, and that is projecting your right hand's melody, your sound quality of your right hand versus the sound quality of your accompaniment in the left hand, and how to think about that. When I was playing a nocturne when I was very little, or anything that requires very melodic playing in the right hand, and then over the accompaniment, my teachers used to tell me, no, more right hand. And that never worked for me. I was able to play, usually what happens is I play the first note very loud, but all of a sudden it just drops down and everything evens out. So I want to talk about that specifically, and I want you to try these things if you are struggling to make music out of these nocturnes. So here I have the B flat minor nocturne, Opus 9, number 1 by Frédéric Chopin. And if you're curious about how to play nocturnes beautifully, please keep watching this video. So if you've already heard this before, this nocturne is in B flat minor, and okay, so let's just work with that. The first thing I want to say is that you, in your head, need to be hearing exactly what you want to play. Without a clear idea of how you hear the sound, you have no chance of communicating that with whoever is listening to you. So either from listening to other recordings or from singing it out loud, have an idea, a clear idea of how you want to phrase it, how you hear this music. Just because it's a nocturne, like night music, it doesn't mean that you yourself as a performer can be in a dreamy state. You have zero chance of communicating if you yourself are in this dreamy, kind of abstract, unclear state of mind. And secondly, it doesn't matter what nocturne you're working on, the right hand will always have some kind of melody, a beautiful sung melody in the style of bel canto opera. Chopin was very much inspired by bel canto style of opera, these operatic singers were very virtuosic. They were able to sing with endless breaths and with virtuosity. And a lot of Chopin's melodic lines kind of imitate their style of singing. So, and these divas are not shy, right? They sing out loud over the orchestra. They can sing piercing sounds across the hall. So you want to imagine this is sung quality in the right hand. What you see in the music, sometimes you have pianissimo markings in the music, but that is all very relative, meaning your right hand's dynamic and your left hand's dynamic are going to be very different. The overall resulting sound needs to be piano, but that does not mean that the right hand and left hand are equally loud or equally soft. And as I said, when I just tell my students to play the right hand loudly over the left hand, no matter what I say, unless I'm there to remind them on every single note, every single moment, their right hand will even out with the left hand. I'll share what has worked for me and for my students. It's thinking about weight. You have to understand how your body works. Your body movement gestures are the cause of the resulting sound. So unless you understand that you are not just playing with your fingers, but your arm weight sinking into the keys to produce rich, softer, louder sounds, unless you understand it, you will not be able to control the sound quality, whether you're playing nocturnes or sonatinas or Beethoven, whatever it is. You have to understand how your body works to produce the sound. I feel so strongly about it. So like this weight transfer, the weight of your arm sinking into the keys, I continuously, constantly remind my Rebuild members in my membership program. But yes, I feel very, very strongly about it. For example, a student who does not understand the body weight sinking into the keys to play the piano, when I ask such a student to play the right hand louder, they do something like either swinging each note, swinging each arm, or tensing up because they just simply think louder, okay, that means more force, and then they tense up. If you're kind of similar, if this kind of sounds like you, then I want you to think that your arm weight sinks into the keys to play the piano. So for these melodic notes, I am involving my arm weight dropping into the keys, and my fingers are just kind of there to transfer the weight into the keys. So for my melodic playing, depending on how much I want to project the melodic line, I can involve some weight or a lot of weight for richer, louder sounds. So my fingers are not moving up and down. My fingers are on the keys, on the surface of the keys. It's just simply transferring or carrying my arm weight. It's kind of like the vehicle that gets my arm weight into the keys. My fingers are simply there to just, if I were to exaggerate this. So what that feels like is like you can imagine I have this like little cute sponge. It's not very dense, it's squishy. So when I play my right hand's melody, it sinks all the way down into the keys, all the way down, right? And then when I release the weight, so the sponge rises again, right? Because I'm releasing my arm weight to move to the next note. If I keep pressing into the sponge, then the sponge will not rise back up and I am stuck here. I will not be able to move to the next melodic note in a fluid fashion. It will not sound fluid if your movement is not fluid. So that's why I want you to imagine sinking into the keys rather than pressing down into the keys. So when you're playing, after you imagine that right hand sinking into the cushion, come back to the keys and play involving the arm weight. And then for crescendo, you use more arm weight going into the keys. But it's definitely not just more finger motion or tensing up. None of that. You have to think about arm weight going into the keys. Now, the left hand is a little different because the left hand, you don't want to play so loud. It should stay in the background. So my arm weight is still getting into the keys, but if I show you how I play my left hand's notes, it's more like this. It's more like this kind of arm weight rather than this kind of arm weight, right? It's very different how I am touching, how I'm involving my arm weight, how much arm weight I'm involving in my left hand's notes. So remember that your right hand far more weight into the keys, and then the left hand, much less arm weight. Definitely don't play with lots of finger motion in the left hand. Know where you're going and stay fluid in your forearm so that you can cover a wide distance, right? It's you know, it's not just like in your 5-finger position. You have to stay fluid. You can kind of think about this as a choreograph. If your physical movement is not choreographed with the music, if it moves separately, if you treat it as something separate from the music itself, the resulting sound will simply not be what you imagine in your head. So thinking of it as a choreograph, like kind of a dance, right? Dancing to the music, dancing to the flow of the music is not a bad analogy. So I mentioned something about polyrhythm in the beginning of the video. I'll talk about it briefly. Two things are true about polyrhythm in Chopin. And this, I'm not talking about the melodic polyrhythm where you see kind of like 3 against 2 or sometimes 4 against 3. I'm talking about these like many notes, like 11 notes, 24 notes, 35 notes over left hand's group of notes, whether that's like 2 or 6 or 3. Here you have 6 notes in the left hand and 11 notes in the right hand. These are not meant to be played precisely, and they're not meant to lock in. So what you don't want to do is like go 11 divided by 6 and find out that 1.833333 notes should go into one of the left hand's notes. That's the first thing. It's meant to be imprecise, loose, and fluid. And my advice is don't stress out about it too much, and let's do what we can. The first step is to know all of your right hand's notes. You should be able to play it almost automatically without thinking about the fingering or the notes. So you practice this. And my tip here is to always practice to the downbeat. So don't stop at G flat. Always go to this F, which is the next beat, downbeat. So you think from the B flat. And these are your 2 checkpoints. Checkpoint, checkpoint. So you keep practicing that and get that pulse in you. And of course, you think about the left hand's checkpoints as checkpoint, checkpoint. So checkpoints in the left hand are the B flat and the B flat. What you ultimately want to do is to line up this note and then this note. And step number 2 is to figure out how fast you have to play the right hand's notes in order to fit all of your 11 notes to the pulse. So if I count in big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, if I count in 2 big beats, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. So these are my big beats. Be able to either conduct it or tap it, whatever. And then you try to, in one of these, you try to fit all of the 11 notes in one. It might take a few tries. It will go something like this. Or you can use the metronome. So let's say this is my big half of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Okay, I was late that time. Let's do it a little bit faster. That was close, but let's say you're not able to do that. In that case, you try to divide 11 notes. You can divide it, 5 and 6, or 6 and 5, and then you try to fit in one beat, and then you try to fit. So you divide it into 2 groups. You're thinking B flat, B flat as the checkpoint, and then the B flat, and then G sharp with the purple part, the first note of the purple part, and then the third target is your F, the next beat right here, with the B flat. So those are your 3 checkpoints, and then you keep working towards aligning those notes and not think about anything else. But let's say even that's too complicated, then no problem. Just think 2 notes by 2 notes by 2 notes. So you're just aligning, see what happens right here. And then at the end, whatever you have left, for that you just have 3 against 2. And then you align. So what that sounds like is totally acceptable. So that's my quick tip about polyrhythm. It was not so quick, but I hope this helps. I hope I got my point across in this short video. If you are a serious intermediate pianist wanting to develop and progress your pianistic skills with me a little bit more closely in a community of wonderful, thoughtful, intelligent pianists just like you, come join the Rebuild membership. We focus on one monthly piece and you're progressing week by week. You're never lost. You can ask questions and you're working towards a master class where you get an opportunity to perform. I give you live feedback so that you are really making progress, not getting information and knowledge from bits of information here and there. If you've been feeling stuck, what you need is a community of pianists just like you and a little bit of structure and guidance. So come check it out, the Rebuild membership. I'll link it in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.